Song Talk Radio with Michael, Neil, Phil, and the gang.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. That's the idea. I think it does work. I'm your host, Mike Proudfoot, and with me is only one of the members of the Song Talk Radio Action team, Neil Modi. Hello, Neil. How are you?
I'm doing quite well, and yes, it does work. Agreed.
Yeah, this songwriting nonsense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our other Song Talk Radio Action team member, Phil Emery, is laid low by a bit of illness, but he'll be back probably next week, hale and hearty and better than ever. During this show, please feel free to send your comments and questions to @SongTalkRadio on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, or send us to feedback@songtalk.ca if you want to use an email. And we will share your comments with our audience. And please visit us at songtalk.ca to find out who you could possibly be a guest on the show. And before we get into our main events, I had something I thought was kind of interesting I came across, and then I wanted to tell you about, Neil. So there's a study done by, Heidelberg University in Germany, where they tested and found that listening to hard rock improves surgical efficiency and precision. They played AC/DC, TNT, and Highway to Hell, and they noticed that it improved surgeons' incision times from 236 seconds down to 139 seconds. And what else? They also improved the surgeon's accuracy by 5% by listening to heavy metal. And the louder they played, the better they got at it. Whereas when they played the Beatles, it did speed up the time by 50%, but the volume had to be down a bit. This sounds kind of crazy. I'm not sure if it can be duplicated, but they're standing by this study. So I think maybe the tempo keeps up the speed of the performance and then enhances the task.
Like I was thinking, maybe it has to do with like kind of the rhythm of it, right, and the energy of it. So like death metal would be too much, and soft piano ballad will probably slow things down.
Exactly. Well, it might help with the patient's heartbeat. The blood pressure would drop. But I think you don't want to mess with blood pressure when you're doing surgery. No. And it was laparoscopic surgery, which I don't know what that means, actually. I think micro. Anyway, so that was just a little bit of news. And speaking of news, we still have our Song Talk Challenge, right now?
Yes, we do. Song Talk Songwriting Challenge is quite a bit underway. I'm still working on mine. I think Mike is still working on his. I'm pretty darn sure Phil's still working on his. So hopefully soon we will be sharing our answers to the challenge. And of course, the challenge this year, if you haven't heard yet, is we decided to write a song based on a title. We solicited title suggestions from our listeners, and we selected from those submissions, and we picked the title, Why Do You Cry? So we've invited our listeners, and same as we're going to do, each write a song based on that title. And we've already got a bunch of submissions from our listeners, which is fantastic. So keep them coming. Email your MP3 and your lyric sheet and a little paragraph about where you come from in the world and your songwriting journey on this song and what the prompt did for you.
What the process was like.
Yeah, what your songwriting process was in a paragraph or two. And just like we did last year, we'll feature an episode or two where we share our listeners' songs to the challenge and go off of there after we do ours.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the lyric sheet. So this is a Song Talk Challenge, and it should challenge you. Don't try to find a loophole or something. So even if you're not tremendously strong with lyrics, do try to write a song with lyrics that does take this title as the main theme. So do challenge yourself. That's kind of the point of this challenge.
Yeah,
make it difficult.
Yeah. I mean, make it a challenge, and as well, you can treat it like an exercise. Like it doesn't have to be the final draft of the song. It could be, the first draft of the song, and then if you want to, change the title after that and do a version 2, then it's your song. You can do whatever you want with it. And as far as the challenge is concerned, I know Phil's not here, but for 7 years on this podcast, he's always I'm a lyrics guy last. I'm a lyrics guy last. He always writes his lyric last. Guess what? He wrote a lyric first. For this challenge, which is like
I can't wait to hear what he's got. Anyway, and we can't wait to hear what you guys have made as well, guys and gals.
Yeah. Sure.
But now let's get to the main feature of our show tonight.
Before we do, we just want to drop.
You got something else, sir?
Yeah, we just want to drop a little congratulations.
Alex Cuba. Yeah,
one of our favorite guests, Alex Cuba, who won the Grammy a couple weeks ago for Best Latin Pop Album for his what was his album called? Or was it? It's around here somewhere. Sorry, I can't find that right now.
All right.
But anyway, congratulations to Alex Cuba. He was one of our first guests when we went virtual because he's in British Columbia. And
one of the upsides of being virtual is we can talk to people from all over the world.
Yeah. And he's a fantastic songwriter who, the thing I remember out of Alex Cuba's episode is that he makes complicated sound simple, which is a really, really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely check out Alex Cuba's episode. It was well worth the listen.
Definitely. And now we will get to another great songwriter on tonight's show. Now, you might be forgiven if you get the impression that successful songwriting is something now that shines on the young. And true enough, a lot of the hits you might hear and much of the press and the muscle from record companies is devoted to the next big thing. But tonight's Song Talk guest not only bucks that trend, but he also makes a virtue out of maturity and the insight that brings. Over his remarkable 3.5-decade career, Austin-based artist Darden Smith has released 15 critically lauded studio albums. He's landed singles in both the country and pop charts, including the top 10 hit Loving Arms. He's penned a symphony, scored works for the theater and dance, published a widely celebrated book on creativity, exhibited works of visual art, and co-founded the nonprofit Songwriting with Soldiers program, which pairs veterans with musicians in order to tap into the transformational possibilities of collaborative songwriting. And now he has released a beautifully austere multimedia project called Western Skies, comprising of a new studio record, a book of photography, lyrics, and essays, and an accompanying album of readings set to music. Western Skies is an immersive journey into a world both real and imagined. And here's just a little taste of the first release from this album.
There ain't nothing fun about getting older. My soul aches, my body feels the strain. The past sits heavy on my shoulder. Tomorrow comes on like a train. If these days are really numbered, if there's an end to the line, then I'm gonna love you like I'm running out of time.
A big Song Talk Radio welcome to the amazing Darden Smith. Welcome, Darden.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Neil. It's great to be here.
Great to have you.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, this is quite I don't know, maybe I don't know the scope of other projects, but this is quite ambitious to have so many aspects of this idea of open and empty that encompasses so many like visual parts and lyrical parts and musical parts. What was the genesis of this? How did this come to you?
Yeah, I think I'm losing my mind as I get older. I think I'm just going nuts. It's like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, what I need is someone to tell me no. No. Actually, what happened was, so I put out a bunch of records already in my life, which is I love making records. But then I started making visual art years ago, and that I put a book out in 2018, and I really love books. They're really great, and so just during the pandemic, I was doing these trips through West Texas and Arizona, where I live. I live in Texas, and I started taking these photographs, and I started writing songs, and I was writing these essays, and I thought they were three completely different bodies of work. I didn't really see the connection between them until I was in the studio recording the demos for what became the record, and it made sense. It made sense that they all fit together. And what I saw that being was a book that had the lyrics, the photos, and the essays with an album that accompanied. It wasn't an album with a book. It was a book with an album, which was very different for me. And it is a lot, but I'm at a place in my life where I love a big challenge, and I kind of bit off a lot here. That's okay.
Yeah, it's quite an extraordinary thing, and it's quite. I mean, no one does concept albums anymore, right? Like you've gone to the.
Yeah,
it's broken up the concept into a whole visual thing and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it definitely isn't a concept album. The songs hang together. There's the story, but I didn't really set out to make a concept album.
Concept project.
I did have a thing that I wanted to get across. I did have that sort of this concept that I wanted to get across, which was the effect of sort of these travels and these landscapes during that time, during 20 and 21, the effect that it had on me, that somehow was relayed through these songs and the recordings of those songs, and then the photos and the essays. And that's what I was really trying to get after. And after a certain point of working in certain mediums, songs or visual art or whatever, it's like, why not push it? Why not take it as far out as you can? Because if you have the opportunity to do it and you don't do it, what a ripoff kind of, it's like, and you never know. So
was it really a case where you wrote the songs, took the photos, wrote some essays, and then realized the connection between them?
Yeah. They didn't,
and then wrote some more.
No, that was completely three separate things that I was doing, and I was doing them simultaneously. But I just thought, because I don't consider myself like a photographer. I had a Polaroid camera, and if you've ever worked with a Polaroid, it's the most un-iPhone way of shooting photos that exists. It's like you have no control. Very, it's kind of what it is, and I was just doing that because it was fun and it was interesting. And I was writing these essays because during that time of 20 and 21, I was coming up against a lot of things in my life. So I just turned 60. I had been, my mother was, we were going, as the whole world was going through this huge thing, and sort of mortality was in my face. So, turning 60, and then my mother was ill as well. She wound up dying about a year ago. And so these three things were coming at me at the same time, as well as I was spending a lot of time actually focusing every day on what was going right in my life and thinking about, okay, what is good? Because I could go down a rabbit hole of what is not good pretty easily. I've got about 14 albums based around that. And so the dichotomy of those things, what this like mortality and this sort of time that's passing, and then the beauty that is around us every day, those sort of, you could say, sort of opposing forces were informing all three of these, the songs, the essays, and the photos. But no, I did not see it until I was literally on the second day of recording the demos. It just sort of hit me like a flash. I went, oh, this is a big project. And if I, you know, it's kind of like the old Mission Impossible thing. Should you choose to accept,
Right?
You know,
The studio's
Right. You could have just made an album and not taken on all the big picture, I suppose. Right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said you could have made an album without taking on the big picture of all incorporating all those elements.
And you know, the funny thing, Michael, is that you know, I mean, I've done that. It's like, and I don't mean to seem jaded, because it's like, it sounds really cynical to go, I've done that, but it's like I've made, you know, this is my 16th record, so it's like, I love making records, but I also have worked in sort of combining mediums, where you take, you know, I've done dance and I've done, you know, film and video and these, you know, music with stuff. And when you put together two mediums, and they can sort of rise up to the same level, you can make a bigger statement and you can do a bigger thing. And I kind of am interested in that. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I could have just made an album, but it's kind of boring to me. It was,
why not go for a home run instead of, you know, getting a single?
Yeah. I mean,
well, you know, or a series of singles, you know, you never know, but still, it's like, but yeah. It's kind of like, I think if a person, well, first off, I believe that most artists are more talented than they think they are, and they can operate in more than one medium. Like a lot of musicians, not most, I would say a lot of musicians are excellent chefs. They're excellent cooks. A lot of musicians paint. A lot of painters play music. A lot of food people, if you walk into a lot of kitchens, you're going to find a lot of musicians behind the stove, mm-hmm. in professional kitchens. And so there's that player. And so if you have these multiple things that you do, and you can figure out how to make a living at it and all that kind of thing, why not do it? It's like, why sell yourself short? And so I just have, in the last, number of years, last 20 years, really, I've tried to embrace that sort of part of my brain that sort of pushes things a little. And so it makes songwriting a lot more interesting to me. And it gives a bit of a more of a context to the songs, because songs and sort of records and how music is distributed, it's been devalued to such a ridiculous level in the sort of the professional realm, that and it's like, how can I still remain interested in it? And how can I still push myself on a daily basis? And that's where I for me, pulling in these other mediums is it just keeps it fun, you know? It's like, I want to have fun. That's the only reason I got in. I got into the music business to sleep late and to have fun.
Yeah.
Sleeping late isn't going so well. No. So I'm really working on the fun thing. Yeah.
Let's talk about your songwriting process a little bit, because when I was listening to your album on SoundCloud, and the first few songs, I think the first couple of songs at least, they sound like they're piano songs, and then in comes the guitar, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. He's a piano player. And then just before the show, you picked up your guitar and gave us a little sound sample.
Well, my piano's right there behind me.
So are you ambidextrous, or do you favor one or the other? Like
my natural go-to is the guitar. I started playing guitar when I was 9, you know, and so that's my number one there. But I started playing piano. I don't read music, but I started playing piano so I could write songs when I was about 20, and so I love the piano, and it's great. And I find that if you get stuck on one instrument, it's good to have another instrument that you can go to. And, you know, Running Out of Time was written on the piano, but I can play it on guitar. And Miles Between, that song, the first song on the record, that was written on guitar. I co-wrote that song with a guy named Jack Ingram, who's a songwriter here in Texas. The original sort of chord structure and the way we sat down to write it, I came up with that on the piano, but when he came over, it's just easier for me to co-write on a guitar. So, and none of my songs are that complicated.
Why do you think?
And then I went back to the piano to record it. I went back to the piano because it sounds cooler to me.
Sure. Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm a piano player, so I'll favor
But
that.
I think having fluidity in a couple of instruments is helpful. You know.
I'm really curious why do you think, and you reflect now on why do you think you got stuck on the guitar for writing songs? Yeah, I'm assuming you were playing guitar. You were probably a pretty adept player. Like, how come you were getting stuck on when it came to writing songs?
Because your brain gets stuck. No matter what you do, you're going to get stuck. If you have a pattern, especially in writing,
yes,
it's good to have. It's like there's a fine line between a groove and a ditch, you know? Yes. And so you can have a groove and you can have a thing that you do.
Yeah.
But it can also be the thing that keeps you from experimenting or finding accidents. And so as a writer, as an artist in general, I was given this advice a long time ago by a voice coach named Warren Berigian, and who said, if you have a habit, break it. Mm-hmm. Immediately. Like as soon as you recognize a pattern, not a habit, he said, if you have a pattern, break it. So for me as a writer, if I'm always starting with the verse, or I'm always starting with the chorus, or I'm always starting with the guitar, or I find that my chord progressions are going down, or I'm always starting on the 1 or the 4 or the 5, whatever it is, break it like immediately, like just, or if I'm always writing on guitar, well, how about if I start today on the piano or the bass or something, or I just got a ukulele. It's like, it's awesome, but just, I think it's not about it's not worrying about being stuck. It's recognizing that you're stuck and not looking at it as stuck. It's just, that's the pattern that I've fallen into out of comfort. And as writers, artists in general, you need to have a little bit of discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Does this idea of patterns or breaking patterns include your songwriting process? Meaning, do you start with lyrics usually, or do you start with an idea? Do you start with music, or is that also up in the air?
Michael, I started writing songs when I was 10. I got a few years at this, and I've gone through so many ways of doing it that I'll take anything that happens. I keep a notebook close. I keep a pen in my pocket all the time. I keep my phone near me. I have a running list of titles. I wake up and play guitar within 10 or 15 minutes after getting out of bed every morning. I mean, that's my number one habit. I pick up the guitar first. I'll take whatever happens, and I'm open to whatever happens, because in that way, once again, it's breaking out of that pattern. Lyrics, great, I'll take it. I mean, the other day, I forget where I was. I heard something on the radio. That's what I heard, something on the radio, driving down the road. A lyric came to me. I pulled over, typed it into my phone, immediately texted it to a buddy that I'm co-writing songs with. Just texted him. I go, what do you think? He texted back, great, I'll work on it. Boom. And we don't have a song yet, but he's working on it. And so wherever and whenever it happens, I'll take it, man.
Yeah. That's amazing. Just to be open to receiving those sorts of. I mean, people talk about inspiration, but you can actively seek it out.
Inspiration's awesome, and then there's craft.
Well, yeah, but
then there's just taking the time.
Yeah, but what I mean about inspiration is that like you say, like you have to identify those moments where you can pull a nugget out of something in life when you're driving down the street, whatever it is, and say, hey, that could make a good song. But you have to sort of be attuned to that as opposed to passively waiting for inspiration.
Well, that's cool. If you're lucky enough to passively wait and it lands on you, that's great. But I like writing songs. I really like it, and I like. I mean, I've been doing it for 50 years. So it's like it's kind of how I process the world, and I don't write every day. I try to do something creative every day. I try to make something every day. But I find that the more you do it, the more you have. The more time you spend writing, the more songs you write. And it's just the numbers thing. And it's also sometimes you're creating, sometimes you're inspired, and sometimes you're just sharpening your tools. It's all good, man. It's like, I'll take it, because I write a lot of bad songs. I really do. And I think those bad songs are gifts, man. They're gifts. And I've done a lot of co-writes where you walk out of there and you go, boy, that song sucks. But the day was awesome because you learned what not to do. So with songwriting, there's kind of like never a bad day. Like I've never had a bad co-write because even if the song isn't good or the person I write with I don't like, at least I learned what not to do. And that's really valuable as a writer, and you have to spend the time doing it to learn those things. So to me, it's not about inspiration. Inspiration is something that comes if you're in the process and doing the work. I mean, God, how many times have we been inspired, but we're, making breakfast for our kids? So inspiration's awesome. Inspiration comes all the time. It's about being in the practice. That way, the inspiration lines up with craft and skill set and hours to do it. That's when you get, I still haven't found what I'm looking for and things like that. It's because they were in the process of writing songs when Bono heard The Edge say, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Bing. That anyway.
No, yeah.
That'll work.
Very well put.
So can we talk a bit specifically about Running Out of Time?
Yeah.
Where that came from, how that came together, and what the whole process of that was from start to finish.
Yeah, that song. So like I said, that was definitely written during the time when we were all, stuck in our house. I happened to be really blessed with this amazing partner, and she and I were talking about, we just spend time every day, like, okay, what's going right, what's not going right, and I just, I've been up and down in relationships and stuff, and I'm really super grateful for this woman. She's amazing. And I came up to my studio one day and I thought, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to write a song to her, because, and I guess the other thing I should say, after my last record, so my last record was number 15. It's called Everything. And I really kind of thought, well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's does the world need another album? Like really? Mm-hmm. And they've got 15 of mine. I mean, do they really need another one? So I didn't really set out to write a record. I was just writing some songs. But I was thinking, well, it's like at that point, it's kind of like abandoning, like a career move or something like that. It's just, I'm just going to write some songs. And so I came up in the studio. And I just was thinking, what would I say to her if I was going to say it? And I just sat down at the piano. And at the time, I was listening to a lot of Jackson Browne. I love Jackson Browne, by the way. And a lot of J.J. Cale. And a lot of just like rock hooter stuff. Like Bop Till You Drop, that record. And I love soul music, and I love just simple chords and simple song forms. And you really don't have to it's not about getting fancy. And then the words just popped out. Literally, it took about 45 minutes to write that song, which is a blessing. When those happen, it's like, oh, thank you. Thank you.
And that was it. It was like one draft, and you're done. You didn't come back and edit afterwards.
What's that?
You didn't come back and do any editing afterwards. It was like one draft, and you were done.
Not really. It was kind of like, well, I mean, you don't edit until you see it until you hear it on Spotify. Or that's when your edits finish. Like, when you master the record, that's when you edit.
Drift. Yeah. It's too late.
But no, and quite frankly, I edited it right up until the time I sang the vocals. I mean, the edits never ended, like little words here and there, and
little tweaks.
Little tweaks. But basically, the song was written, in one go, and I think I might have changed a little bit about the third chorus. I thought about dropping the third chorus and making it instrumental, but I kind of tossed that around for a couple of weeks, but no, pretty much it was done.
And what was the recording process like for it? Like
the recording process, well, yeah. So it was the demos were done at a place called Sonic Ranch in Tornillo, Texas, which is out just outside of El Paso. It's right on the border with Mexico. Literally, the border wall is at the end of the property, and in these drives that I was making between Austin and Arizona, I was going right by Tornillo. The highway literally goes, right by it. And so I was like, well, maybe on my way back, from one of these trips that I was doing, I'll stop off and do some to make some demos, and I'd been writing a bunch. And so I had like 25 songs to cut and I had 3 days. So I went into the studio, I booked some time, I went into the studio, and it was just me and an engineer. And it was great. This guy, this engineer, he was young. He was about 25, and he'd only worked with one other singer-songwriter in his whole career. He mostly did like heavy metal and punk bands, which I loved. And I was like, okay, man, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to set up a guitar station, and we're going to set up a piano station, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to record each song, guitar or piano. I'm going to do 3 passes of guitar and vocal or piano vocal. Then we're going to set up a click track for each one. And then I will do 3 passes of guitar and 3 passes of vocal, and then we move on. And your job as an engineer is make sure we don't distort anything, and tell me if I'm boring you. That's all you have to do. Just record it and tell me if I'm boring you, because he knows nothing about my kind of music. He's Hispanic. He's just a Hispanic kid who mostly is into Hispanic like rock, and so it was fantastic. And so I spent 3 days and we worked like 12-hour days. It was really intense, and we did 25 songs in 3 days. Then I took those, lived with that for a while, and then kind of went, oh wow, I think this is an album. And the songs kind of sifted themselves into these sort of groups of songs. And then a friend of mine, Michael Ramos, who's an engineer, a keyboard player here in Austin. I went to Michael and I said, hey man, I think I got an album. You want to co-produce it with me? And I ran the songs by another guy in New York named Stuart Lehrman, who I've worked with a lot on my records. And so the 3 of us co-produced the record. And we picked the songs. Got the songs and really buffed that, really, really work hardcore about which songs worked and which songs didn't, which I always do. I never produce myself. That'd be awful. And you always need somebody to tell you no. So I pick people who are strong-willed, and I really respect their opinion, but I know that they respect what I do. So we can go head to head without it being a conflict. Because I don't want a yes man. That's useless. And then I put some money together so I could make the record. And then we went into the studio with drums and bass. Rami Antoon, who used to play with Seal, is the drummer. And then Glenn Fukunaga is the bass player. He's done a lot of work with Sean Colvin, the Dixie Chicks, all kinds of stuff. Joe Ely, tons of stuff. So we recorded bass and drums because it was in the middle of the pandemic. So you couldn't put 7 people in the studio.
Yeah.
So we did drums and bass, lived with that for a week or 2. And then the pedal steel went on it. That was Ricky Ray Jackson, who plays with Steve Earle. He's also in Phosphorescent and a lot of things. And then Charlie Sexton came in and played guitar on it. And my friend James House in Nashville, James wrote Ain't That Lonely Yet for Dwight Yoakam and Broken Wing for Susie Vargas. He writes a lot of songs with Joe Bonamassa now. But he's also an amazing harmony singer and a great friend. He did all the harmony vocals, but my lead vocals came from the demo sessions. So I never re-recorded my vocals, and the guitar and the piano All of that came from the demos. We cut it with simple drum loops. Some of the original drum loops are actually on the record. But because I wanted that J.J. Cale feel, like J.J. Cale of Naturally. If you listen to that record,
big fan.
If you listen to that record, it's drum loops. Boom, boom, boom. I love that. It's amazing what you can do with that little bit of percussion. And so it was really, before I went and recorded the demos, I sang every song for a month. Every day. I sang every song and recorded it to listen to myself just on my phone, and really worked at the vocals and worked at the performance of it. So when I got to the studio, I was ready. I was ready to go. But I literally sang every song every day for a month.
Wow. Because that's one thing that really stood out to me listening to the whole album. I just thought the vocals were great. The really nice tone. And anyway, so I'm surprised that that's from the demos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was using it's a good studio as well. It's recorded well. But I think that as a songwriter,
did you know then that you were going to keep them? You didn't like just toss them off.
I knew that I had a budget.
Good.
I knew that I had a budget, and that was literally, that I say that jokingly, but it's like I don't love studios. I don't love the studio process. Making records is fun, but I don't really want to. I have spent hours and hours and hours and hours recording vocals, and they rarely get better. They get maybe more perfect, but that doesn't mean better. And there's vocals on this record there's some out of time vocals and there's some out of tune vocals. And we kind of went, well, it feels right, and perfection is really overrated. So, and that doesn't mean you don't want to be wrong, but I just figured, hey man, go in and sing it and just get it right. Just practice, get it right. And really, when you put parameters on yourself as an artist, and especially as a singer, put parameters around yourself and game on, do it. I mean, I know a guy, and I got that from a guy named David Kahn, who's a producer. He produced Walk Like an Egyptian and the Bangles and a lot of songs. But anyway, he was my A&R guy when I was on Columbia. And I remember talking to him one time. I said, what have you been doing? He goes, oh man, I just produced a record for Tony Bennett. I was like, wow, what's that like? He goes, well, Tony comes in and he sings the songs like once, unless the orchestra messes up. That's the only time he'll do a second take. And I was like, how does he do that? And he goes, well, he's really good. It's like, oh wow, maybe I should.
Well, that's the secret.
And he practices. He said he practices. And I was like, oh well, maybe I could do that, practice. And so that, and I'm not I don't consider myself a great singer or guitar player, but it's or piano player. But I have a thing, and so I practice.
Oh, cool. Hey, would you? It sounds great on record, but I'd like to hear the non-piano version. You want to play the guitar?
If I could somehow figure out how to get my camera over there by the piano, I would have done that. But
no, this will be
that's good because this way we have two versions of it.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll post the song, the piano version on the page as well, so they can hear it.
And of course, for our listeners as well, the lyric sheet, it will be on the show notes, so you can follow.
Oh, right. Okay. By the way, this is a really cool show you guys got. This is great. Not many people dig this deep into songwriting. So it's really carry on, man. Ain't nothing funny about getting older. My soul aches, my body feels the strain. The past is heavy on my shoulder. Tomorrow comes on like a train. If these days are really numbered, if there's an end to the line, well, I'm time. I count the days that I've wasted chasing some vision of what I thought I should be. It's just another green grass story. Thought it was freedom, it was chains without a key. If these nights are really numbered, if there's an end to the wine, well, I'm gonna love you like I'm running out of time. And I'm gonna love you like I'm running out of time. Warm wind blowing off the Gulf Coast tonight. Baby powder moon is in the sky. You and me laying here talking about nothing. I see that sparkle in your eye. Know these moments, they are numbered, so I'm not gonna let it pass us by. Well, I'm gonna love you like I'm running out of time. Like I'm running out of time.
Oh, so nice.
Excellent.
Darden Smith, Running Out of Time.
There you go.
I really like the, I guess the pre-chorus, the way it stays the same but changes. First its days are numbered, then nights are numbered, then moments are numbered.
That's like a John Prine trick.
Mm.
You know, you can move. You actually, and it's also this thing I learned it in college. You know, but like how you can move time with just one word.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can move time, and you can move. Just one word will change the story. If you have the same, Guy Clark used to do that a lot, but you just change one word in each verse, and it actually in the pre-chorus. So you can do it in the chorus as well, and you can it moves the story along. And you create movement of past, future, everything. It's
because you go if these days are really numbered, and then in the second
nights are really numbered.
If these nights, and then
I know these moments they're numbered.
Moments, which is
that's also the thing of bringing it down. You bring it down to this final point, and you spread it out like the warm wind blowing. The third verse, the warm wind blowing off the Gulf Coast, which. It's just because it was warm outside. It was like, and there was a storm coming. It's like, oh yeah, warm wind blowing. Like, oh yeah, I'm close to the Gulf Coast.
It's true.
And it's funny. The first line, there ain't nothing funny about getting older. It's like, it's like my back was hurting. Oh, I woke up with my back hurt, and like, there's nothing funny about getting older, man. My soul aches. My body feels the strain. It's just like it's not rocket science, man. I'm just trying to put my life into the songs. And that I think you mentioned something about songwriting with soldiers. That's a program I started with a friend. I'm no longer doing the work, but actually during the pandemic I started working with frontline healthcare workers, but helping them tell their stories through songs. So you're actually writing somebody else's story. But also when you do with that format of songs, you have about an hour and a half to write the song, start to stop, go. And what I found, and I brought other songwriters into this, and what we all found was, first off, it totally took away our fear of writing songs. It's like, we're going to write a song. We have to write the song because we have an hour and a half and this person's sitting there. But also, it really opened me up to common language. And the fact that in songs, when you use common language, it's easier, man. Just like, and when you describe a high impact moment in your life where it's love or the birth of a child or a death or an end of a relationship or whatever, when you do that, your language gets super simple and the words get super small. And that's really the foundation blocks of songs, of great songs. You know, it's funny. I heard James Brown, "It's a Man's World," the other day on the radio. I went, God, man, talk about it's like, whatever you think about the politics of it, it's a fantastic hook, you know? And it's like, it's so simple. And it's been said so many times that he just took it and put it in a song and trying to find that kind of language that I really learned and it was really shown to me again and again through the work of Songwriting with Soldiers, when you're sitting across from someone writing their story and you have to finish the song in an hour and a half. And you got to try to make it good. You're looking for simple words, and ain't nothing funny about getting older, man. Soul aches, my body feels the strain. Past it's heavy on my shoulder. Tomorrow comes on like a train. If these days are really numbered, if the days are really numbered, if there's an end to the line, then I'm going to love you like I'm running out of time.
Yeah,
it's a great way to take a complaint or an acknowledgement of mortality and have it mean something, and it's a way to make it a love song, which I thought was a really nice turn of phrase.
I was gonna say, like, I really love that it's it's a proper love song, but it's not saccharine. It's not, there's a level of honesty to it, and a level of the craft of it is really, really, really clever. What you were calling the pre-chorus, I was thinking was just the chorus. Like the whole second section is like your vocal melody doesn't even like shoot up for that section in a big dramatic way or anything. It's actually
it doesn't really go up to "I'm gonna love you like I'm running." That's when but it's not the highest point in the song. It's like, no, it's not. It's a really kind of like simple melody. But Jackson Brown. I read this thing one time ago. Jackson Brown. I think it was Jackson Brown said, "Oh, the trick is to write a love song and never say love."
Yeah.
Which I didn't do that here, but if you can do that, that's like, whoa.
That would be a good songwriting challenge for next year. Yeah.
Think about My Funny Valentine. Or think about all those amazing Nick Lowe songs, or just great love songs that never say love. Those are the magic. But can you make a love song and not make it like saccharine, like you said, but make it real? Because I think people like reality. People are craving reality as much as unreality gets all the press. There's this countervailing thing. That's why, it's like, as much as people love to complain in general, but they love to complain about music, especially as we get older. We love to complain about music. But if you listen, like, the Strokes' new record, those are some great songs, man. Taylor Swift's, that song she put out, God, I'm spacing out the name. It had Cardigan on it, and it's like amazing songs, man. They're just great songs, and they're using really common language. Taylor Swift's amazing. I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, but she uses really everyday language. Country music is built on everyday language, as the blues. Any idiom is really.
Yeah. I think you say people like reality. I think people like honesty as well.
Yeah, totally. And they like universal. They want to see them. That's what we all love about songs. That's why we listen to songs. That's the magic of words and music together, is that it allows people to see themselves in someone else's story. And that's the job of a writer, is to delve into the depths and go somewhere that you've been and tell that story, because you never know who needs to hear that story. And if we all think about a song that we all know and love, well, probably when we hear that song, it triggers something in our minds of a story and ourselves. And we somehow see ourselves in this thing that's happening, this song. That's magic. And that comes, you don't want to get complicated. It's hard to see yourself in complicated songs. You see yourself in simple songs, but there's lots of space to, does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. See, and the dog is barking. The dog is like feeling it, man. Yeah.
Where's the dog? So what's the next step? Are you taking this on the road?
I'm doing some shows. I don't tour as much as I used to. I do shows, but I do a lot of different kind of work and a lot of different kind of writing work. So I do a lot of that. I got an art thing, but what so the book is these photos, lyrics, and essays. Then I recorded the essays. I recorded an audio version of the essays, and then I scored that.
Oh,
So I put music around the audio essays, and then that was so fun, man, because you're dealing with spoken word and then music, and some of the music was based on stuff that came from the album, and we built on that and we edited and we really got in there and that was so fun.
wow.
And so then when I was in the process of making that part, I was like, these are movies. these are movies, man. Each one, and they're not long. Some of them are a minute and a half, some are 5 minutes. And so then I began to make videos around each one of these essays. And so there's a series of 17 videos that are made and so there's an album, a spoken word album coming out in this fall. It's called Western Skies, The Essays. And there's a series of videos that will be released along with that. And then I am working on a one-man show.
Fantastic.
Around Western Skies. I'm taking all this content, all the songs and stories, and I start rehearsal tomorrow, actually.
Oh, wow. So it's going to be like a multimedia show. Yeah,
multimedia with the photographs and the video, and we're just going to see. You never know if anything's going to work, but I've had this idea about a one-man show. It's a theater thing for over a decade, and I think I have something to build it on. So we're going to see if it works. So that's what's next.
Wow, that's a lot. That's great.
It's fun, man. Well, I have an art show up. I have a series of lithographs that are being they're in a gallery in Houston right now. So it's like I'm spread it out. It's like it's fun, man. I'm having fun,
Amazing.
Yeah, not slowing down.
Yeah.
No, man. No, why slow
60
down?
doesn't mean nothing.
Dude, listen, I'll tell you what, man, for anybody out there who's freaking out about getting older, I got to tell you, man, 60 feels awesome because you don't have to pretend you're a kid anymore. And you don't have, it's like, and the horizon is out there, man. It's like maybe you have 10, 20 years if you're lucky, So if you've been working on a craft and you got to a place where you have a thing that you do that you might be pretty good at, and you have a community that you can operate in, if you are blessed enough to make a living at it, which is a total blessing, man, why slow down, dude? It's so much fun. I have more fun. I love music and songwriting more now than when I was a kid. And I had record deals and all that stuff. I love it now because now I look at music and songs, and especially being a professional musician, I look at it as a service job. It's not an entertainment gig. It's a service. It's something I do so that somebody out there might make their day better. And at that place, it's endless, and almost becomes the audience. Of course, we all want an audience. We all want to be loved. We all want to make a living and all that. That has to happen as well. But then it's really about, okay, what's the real use of music? And music wasn't created to make records. I don't know if anybody knows that. Music wasn't invented to tour. Music was invented to tell stories. That's why we play music, and that's why we all get into it, is to tell a story and to be. So how about we pursue that, and then everything else will take care of itself.
Makes sense.
But it's way more fun now than it was.
Excellent. But Darden Smith, thank you so much for sharing your song and your time and some great advice on songwriting. It's fantastic.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So I'm afraid that's all the time we have tonight.
Like I said, man.
But thank you for doing it.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys, because this is a really cool thing. There's not many shows out there that go into songwriting like this. A lot of people, they're just interested in a project per se. So good on you for doing this. This is great. Yeah.
And if for people to find you on social media, or what's the best way to find you?
Well, my website is just dardensmith.com, but then I'm on Instagram and all that stuff. So you can find YouTube. It's all
right.
I forget.
Dardensmith.com will do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, for our listeners, please send us your impressions of the show to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or email us at feedback@songtalk.ca. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performances, and do subscribe. And stop by the site at songtalk.ca. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher.com, Spotify, or Podcast Addict. And don't forget, you can also sign up for our free newsletter at songtalk.ca, where you can also find links to products, books, and web services, and lots of other things. And please join us at our next Song Talk meetup at the end of the month. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup. So you can get more information about that also on songtalk.ca. And Neil, if they want more of you, and I'm sure they do, where do they find you?
Of course they do. neilmodi.com.
All right. And Phil's is philemery.com, right?
philemery.ca.
philemery.ca, okay. And I'm currently on hibernation, but you can find pictures on Proudfoot420 on Instagram. And stop by the website to browse past shows at songtalk.ca and find out how you might be a guest. Keep on writing. Good night, everyone.
Long.